Well, the spider and the fly, the rebbe said, Now I will tell you about my journey. There was once a king who had to confront many heavy battles, but he won them all, taking many prisoners. At this point, after beginning to tell this story, the rebbe interjected by saying, But I will not tell you the entire story. You will not understand. Now every year, I think I will tell you the whole story and you'll understand. Now every year on the day of his victory, he would make a big dinner, a ball, and all the royal ministers and other officials would come to the ball, as is the way of royalty. At the Baal, comedy shows were given for entertainment. Parodies and jokes will be made of all the nations, such as of the Ishmaelites and all other nations. They would mockingly characterize the ways and behaviors of each nation, and they probably made fun of the Jews as well. The king would instruct to have the book in which the ways and behaviors of each and every nation be brought before him. Wherever he would open the book, he would read about the ways and behaviors of a certain nation, exactly as the actors were acting out, and most probably the actors themselves had drawn their material from this book. While the king was poring over the book, he saw a spider that was crawling along the side of the book, that is, on the outer edges of the book. On the other side was a fly. Now where can the spider be going? Toward the fly, of course. So while the spider was crawling towards the fly, a breeze came along and lifted that page from the book, so that the spider was no longer able to get to the fly. The spider stepped back, giving the impression that it was no longer interested in going to the fly. Meanwhile, the page fell back in its place, and the spider proceeded again towards the fly. But then the page was lifted again, blocking the spider, which retreated. This happened several times. Then once again the spider began approaching the fly. It had crawled far enough that one of its legs was already on the top of the open page. But the page again lifted up, with the spider holding onto it, so that when the page fell back down, the spider was underneath it. Between the two pages it crawled around there, but it remained underneath, and nothing came of it in the end. But I will not tell you what happened to the fly, said the rebbe. Now the king had been watching this the entire time with amazement. He understood that this is no idle incident. Rather, he is being shown something here. All the ministers had noticed that the king was watching something that amazed him. So the king began to think about it. What is this? What is it about? In the meantime, he dozed off on top of the book, and the king had a dream in it. He was holding a precious stone, a diamond, and looking at it. An exaggerated number of people were coming out of it. The king then cast the diamond out of his hand. Now, kings generally have a portrait of themselves hanging above them, and on top of the portraits sits the crown. So these people that emerged from the diamond took the portrait, cut off the picture of the king's head, and then threw the crown into the garbage. All this was what the king dreamt. These people then ran towards the king to kill him. A page of the book upon he was lying lifted itself and protected him from them, so that they weren't able to harm him. They went away, and the page of the book returned to its place, but they returned to kill him. And again the page lifted itself as before. This happened several times. The king was very curious to know which page is protecting him, which behaviors of which nation are written on that page, which behaviors of which nation are written on that page. But he was afraid to look, so he began to scream, help! Help, help! All the ministers who were sitting there wanted who was sitting there wanting to rouse him. But it is not proper to rouse the king. So they made noises around him in order to wake him. But he did not hear. Meanwhile, a tall mountain appeared to the king in his dream and asked him, "Why are you screaming so much? I have been sleeping for so long, and nothing ever woke me up. Nothing. But now you awoke me. Shall I not scream?" Answered the king. "They are coming to kill me. Only this page has protected me. If this page has protected you," said the mountain, "then you need not fear anything. Many enemies rise against me as well, but only this same page protects me. Come and I will show you." Oh yeah. When the mountain showed the king that around it are thousands and myriads of enemies that are making parties and rejoicing with musical instruments. Oh, singing and dancing. The cause of this joy is that one group among them has come upon a clever idea how to climb the mountain. So they rejoice greatly with a dinner and song, etc. The same happens with each and every group among them. But only this page of these behaviors that protects the king also protects the mountain. Now on top of the mountain there is a tablet upon which is written all the behaviors of the page that protects him, and of which people it is. However, since the mountain is high, it is impossible to read the writing. At the foot of the mountain, though, there is another tablet upon which is written that whoever possesses all his teeth is able to climb the mountain. Now God arranged that a certain grass grows on the path leading up the mountain, and whoever would pass there, all his teeth would fall out, no matter if one was walking, riding, driving an animal-led carriage. No matter if one was walking, riding, driving an animal-led carriage, all his teeth would fall out. Piles and piles of teeth were there, like mountains and mountains. After this, the above people pasted the portrait together as it had been, took the crown and washed it off, and hung it in its place. Then the king woke up. Nanach, nachma, meuman. The king immediately looked at the page that had protected him. Which behavior of which nation was it? He saw that on it was written the behaviors of the Jewish people. The king began to look at the page honestly. Then he understood the truth. He firmly decided that he would convert. But what was he going to do with everyone else to bring them to the truth? He decided that he would travel around in search of a sage who would interpret the dream as he had dreamt it. So he took two men with him and traveled around the world, not in a royal manner, but as a simple person. He traveled from city to city, from country to country, asking where he could find a sage who could interpret the dream as he had dreamt it. He was told that in such and such a place there was such a sage. So the king traveled there and arrived at the sage. He told the sage the truth, that he is a king who had been victorious in battle, and the entire above story, asking him to interpret the dream. The sage responded, I myself cannot interpret it. However, there is a certain day on a certain month on which I collect all the spices of the incense, and make a composite of them. We give someone to inhale its smoke while he is focusing on what he would like to see and know, and he would know whatever he wants. The king thought about this. Since he had already spent a lot of time for this, he might as well wait until that day of that month. The sage did as above, and gave the king to inhale the smoke of the incense. The king began to see even things that had happened to him before his birth, when he was still a soul in the upper world. He saw that his soul was being taken through all the worlds while a proclamation was being made. Or whoever has any accusation to say against this soul, let him come forward. But no one came forward to make an accusation against it. Suddenly someone came running and shouting, "Oh God, listen to my prayer. If this soul is allowed to enter the world, then why do you create me? If this soul is allowed to enter the world, then why do you create me?" This was the devil himself shouting, "This soul must go down. This soul must go down into the world, and you will have to devise your own plan." He was answered, and he went away. So the soul was brought further through all the worlds until it reached the heavenly court, in order to be sworn that it would descend into the world. Now the devil, in order to be sworn that it would descend into the world, now the devil had not yet arrived, so a messenger was sent after him. When he finally arrived, he brought some old man with him, who was walking bent over, as old people do, and with whom the devil had previous acquaintance. The devil said laughingly, "I have already devised a plan. He can go to the world now. I have already devised a plan. He can go to the world now." So the soul was allowed to go to the world. The king saw everything that ever happened to him, from beginning to end, how he became king, and the wars that he had waged, etc. He took prisoners, among whom was a beautiful woman, who possessed all types of beauty in the world. Whoever this beauty was not hers. Rather, she would place a diamond on her. She would place a diamond on her, and the diamond possessed all the types of beauty, on account of which it seemed that she possessed all types of beauty, on account of which it seemed that she possessed all types of beauty, and it is impossible to climb that mountain. Only sages and the wealthy. The Rebbe said no more, though there is much more to say. The last paragraph, he took prisoners, was not written properly as the Rebbe had told it. A psalm of David when he fled. "Oh God, how great are my troubles. Many rise against me, but you, O God, protect me. You are my glory, and he who raises my head. I call out with my voice to God, and he always answers me from his holy mountain. This alludes to the mountain. I lay down and fall asleep. I awake. I will not fear myriads of people, for you have smitten all my enemies on the cheek. You have broken the teeth of the wicked." This refers to the fallen teeth of those who try to climb the mountain. Your blessing is upon your people forever. Psalms 3. Look and contemplate these wonders. If you are a soulful person, you will feel like tearing out your flesh with your teeth, and that your soul is in the palm of your hand. You will stand trembling and amazed with the hairs of your head, while the hairs of your head stand on edge, while the hairs of your head stand on edge. Look again and be amazed at these ideas that are in the highest of the heights. Nanach, nachma, meuman. Oy nanach, nachma, meuman. Nanach, nachma, meuman. Nanach, nachma, meuman. Oy nanach, nachma, meuman. Nanach, nachma, meuman. Oy nanach, nachman, meuman. Nanach, nachma, meuman. Oy nanach, nachman, nanach, nachma, meuman. 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 Oh, may God save us. Nanach, nachma, meuman. Nanach, nachma.